Hello and welcome back to the course of Fundamental of Electronics and Electrical Engineering. The topics that I am going to discuss in these video lectures are rotating magnetic field, production of rotating magnetic field, how it is produced, and working principle of three-phase induction motor. In the previous video lecture, I have discussed about the introduction about the electrical machines, parts of the three-phase induction motor, that is stator and rotor. Now you know, stator consists of three-phase windings which are connected to the three-phase supply. Windings may be star or delta connected. So when stator winding is connected to three-phase supply, magnetic field will be produced in each phase, and because of three-phase, the magnetic field produced will be rotating. That I am going to discuss in this video lecture, and then after how actually rotor rotates, that is a working principle of the induction motor. So let us start with the production of rotating magnetic field. Now, as we know, there are three windings which are placed on the stator slots, and these three windings may be star or delta connected. Now, these three windings are displaced by 120-degree each other electrical angle. Here you can see stator winding is there, slots are there in which stator windings are placed, and three windings are there which are displaced by 120-degree electrical angle. Now, these three windings are supplied by three-phase supply, so three-phase current will be produced in these three-phase winding which are displaced by 120-degree, and magnetic flux is produced which rotates in space, that I am going to prove. Stator of three-phase induction motor carries a three-phase star or delta connected winding which are displaced by 120-degree electrical angle, and when the AC supply is given to three-phase winding, three circulating currents IR, IY and IB will be start to flowing in R, Y and B phase of the winding, and this circulating current will produce its own flux which is sinusoidal, because input is sinusoidal, three-phase supply is sinusoidal, current produced is sinusoidal, so flux produced will be sinusoidal. So in each phase, sinusoidal flux will be produced, that is phi R, phi Y and phi B. Now, flux phi R, phi Y and phi B are also displaced by 120-degree with each other, because currents are also displaced by 120-degree, so flux will be also displaced by 120-degree each other electrical angle. The equation of fluxes now becomes phi R, that is the flux produced in R phase, that is phi m sin omega t, where phi m is the maximum value of the flux. Phi Y is equal to phi m sin omega t minus 120-degree, and phi B is equal to phi m sin omega t minus 240-degree, and these are the equation number 1, 2 and 3. And phasor representation of these fluxes are these: phi R, phi Y and phi B. Phi R is taken as a reference phasor and all are displaced by 120-degree each other, and this is a waveform of phi R, phi Y and phi B with respect to time. So here you can say phi R is starting from origin 0, phi Y is starting 120-degree after phi R, and phi B is starting 240-degree after phi R. So these are the three equation and waveforms of the alternating flux produced in each phase. Now I am going to discuss that a resultant of this alternating flux at any instant will be equal and it will be shifting. So here I am taking four instances, that is 0, 60, 120 and 180-degree. At each and every value of this omega t, we will be getting the same resultant flux which will be rotating, that I am going to prove. So starting with the first one, that is omega t is equal to 0-degree instant. So putting the value of omega t is equal to 0 in equation 1, 2 and 3. So we are getting phi R is equal to phi m sin 0, which is 0. Phi Y is equal to phi m sin 0 minus 120, that is minus 0.866 phi m. So we can write minus phi Y is equal to 0.866 phi m. Phi B is equal to phi m sin 0 minus 240-degree, that is 0.866 phi m. So these are the value of phi R, phi Y and phi B when we are putting omega t is equal to 0. So total flux phi t can be found using phasor sum of minus phi Y and phi B. Here reason behind taking reversal of phi Y is both are having now same magnitude, minus phi Y and phi B. So we can easily find the resultant of these two using parallelogram method. That's why phi Y is reversed, which is represented in terms of minus phi Y. So phi R is 0, so here phi R is not shown. This is a phi Y and phi B. This is a reverse of phi Y, that is minus phi Y. Now both are having same magnitude, so the value of the resultant can be found using parallelogram. So taking the projection of this, making the parallelogram. Now we know the angle between minus phi Y and phi B is 60-degree, because angle between phi B and phi R is 120-degree, and if we take the reverse of -5, so this angle will be 60 degree. Now all sides are equal, so the angle between diagonal and phi b, or angle between diagonal and -5i will be 30 degree. Now we can find out the equation of value of the resultant phasor, that is phi t, resultant flux, using equation that is phi t is equal to 2 times the magnitude of one side, that is 0.866 phi m into cos 60 by 2. So that value is phi t is equal to 1.5 phi m. This is a value of the total flux at instant omega t is equal to 0 degree. Now taking the second instant, that is omega t is equal to 60 degree. So putting the value of omega t is equal to 60 degree in equation 1, 2 and 3, we are getting phi r is equal to 0.866 phi m, phi y is equal to phi m sine 60 minus 120, that is sine of minus 60, that is a minus sine 60, that is minus 0.866 phi m, and as we are getting the negative value of phi y, so again taking the opposite of this phase, reverse of this phasor, that is minus phi y is equal to 0.866 phi m, and phi b is equal to phi m sine 60 minus 240, that is 180 degree. Sine 180 is 0, so phi b is 0. Now in this case phi b is 0, so total flux phi t is a phasor sum of phi r and minus phi y. So again drawing the phasor diagram, phi b is neglected over here. This is a phi r and phi y, again taking the reverse of phi y, that is minus phi y, exact opposite direction. Now as we have discussed, angle between minus phi y and phi r will be 60 degree, and angle between resultant flux and phi r or minus phi y will be 30 degree. Now the value of the resultant flux can be found using parallelogram, that is using the diagonal is nothing but the resultant flux. So value of the diagonal can be found using this equation. So resultant flux phi t is equal to 2 into 0.866 phi m cos 60 by 2. And the same value we are getting over here. So resultant flux phi t is equal to 1.5 phi m. So again we are getting resultant flux that is having the same magnitude as in the case of omega t is equal to 0, but here resultant flux has shifted 60 degree as compared to the previous case. So resultant flux has rotated clockwise through an angle 60 from its position at 0 instant. Now moving towards next value, that is omega t is equal to 120 degree instant. So putting this value in the equation 1, 2 and 3, we are getting phi r is equal to phi m sine 120, that is 0.866 phi m, phi y is equal to phi m sine 120 minus 120, that is 0, phi b is equal to phi m sine 120 minus 240 degree, that is sine of minus 180 degree, that is minus 0.866 phi m. So minus phi b is equal to 0.866 phi m. Now the resultant flux phi t can be found using the phasor sum of phi r and minus phi b. So phi r is there, phi y is 0 and phi b is also there. So resultant flux is a phasor sum of phi r and minus phi b. So taking the opposite of that, that is a minus phi b over here. Now resultant flux can be found using parallelogram. So diagonal of the parallelogram will give you the resultant flux. Now the angle between phi r and phi t is 60 degree. Angle between phi r and minus phi b is 60 degree. So angle between phi r and phi t will be 30 degree, as we have already discussed in the previous case, and which can be found using this equation, that is phi t, resultant flux phi t is equal to 2 into 0.866 phi m, that is the magnitude of the phi r and minus phi b, into cos 60 by 2. So we are getting phi t is equal to 1.5 phi m. So again we are getting the same magnitude at instant omega t is equal to 120 degree. So now here resultant flux has rotated clockwise through an angle of 120 degree from its position at instant 0. So resultant flux is having same magnitude, but it is rotating now. And the final instant, that is omega t is equal to 180 degree. So putting omega t is equal to 180 degree in the equation 1, 2, 3, we are getting phi r is equal to 0, phi y is equal to 0.866 phi m, and phi b is equal to minus 0.866 phi m. So minus phi b will be equal to 0.866 phi m. So here resultant flux phi t is a phasor sum of phi y and minus phi b. So again having this phasor diagram, Using phasor diagram, we can find out the value of the resultant flux. So this is phi b, this is minus phi b, and this is phi y. Phi r is 0 over here. The value of the resultant flux can be find out using parallelogram, which is a diagonal is a phasor sum of phi y and minus phi b, which can be found using this equation. So resultant flux phi t is equal to 2 into 0.866 m cos 60 by 2. So phi t is equal to 1.5 phi m. So again, this case we are getting the same resultant flux, that is 1.5 phi m. But here resultant flux is rotated clockwise through an angle of 180 degree from its instant at 0 degree. So from all this discussion, we can say resultant of three alternating flux separated from each other by 120 degree has a rotating field of constant amplitude, that is 1.5 phi m, and moving around the machine periphery. And that's why stator winding is given three-phase supply, rotating magnetic field is produced, which is having same magnitude at every instant. The speed of rotation of magnetic field, the speed at which magnetic field rotates is called synchronous speed, which is denoted by n suffix n, and that is equal to 120 f divided by p, where f is the supply frequency and p is a number of poles for which winding is wound. So as the pole increases, synchronous speed decreases, pole decreases, synchronous speed increases. So this is how rotating magnetic field is produced when stator is given three-phase supply. Now moving towards the working principle of three-phase induction motor. In the previous video lecture, I have discussed about the construction of three-phase induction motor. Now after understanding rotating magnetic field, understanding of principle of operation of three-phase induction motor becomes easier. So here you can say cut section is there. This is a stator part and this is a rotor part. These are the copper conductors and this is the rotating magnetic field. And suppose rotation of stator field is in this direction. So I am going to prove that force on the rotor will be also in the same direction as that of stator magnetic field, that is a RMF field. And this is an air gap which is 0.4 mm to 4 mm between stator and rotor. Now, when three-phase stator winding is given supply, it is energized from three-phase supply. A rotating magnetic field is produced, that we already discussed, which rotates at synchronous speed ns. Now this rotating magnetic field will pass through air gap and it will cut the stationary rotor conductor. Now assuming that rotor conductors are stationary presently. Now as the rotor conductors are cut by magnetic field or magnetic field is cut by rotor conductor, then EMF gets induced in the rotor conductor as per the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So EMF is induced in the rotor conduction due to relative speed between rotating magnetic field and stationary rotor. Here cause of production of EMF is a relative speed between rotating magnetic field and stationary rotor. If magnetic field is stationary, rotor is stationary, then no EMF gets induced. So cause of production of EMF induction is relative speed between rotating field and stationary rotor. Now as the rotor is short circuited, we have already discussed in the previous video lecture, current will start to flow in the rotor conductor. And current carrying conductor, now we are having the case that current carrying conductor are placed in rotating magnetic field produced by the stator. And as current carrying conductors are placed in the rotating magnetic field, current carrying conductor experience the mechanical force. So mechanical force is found to be acting on the rotor conductor, each and every rotor conductor, and sum of all the mechanical force acting on the rotor conductor produces a unique torque, a resultant torque, which tends to move the rotor in the same direction as that of stator rotating magnetic field. Now why direction is same? That answer can be given by the Lenz law. The direction of the rotation in the same direction can be as that of stator can be answered by the Lenz law. Now we know the induced current and induced flux acts in the same direction so as to oppose the very cause of their production. The induced current and induced flux will oppose the cause of its production, and the cause of production of rotor current is the relative speed between the rotating magnetic field and stationary rotor conductor. So to oppose the relative speed between the rotating magnetic field and rotor conductor, and so to reduce the relative speed between the stationary rotor and rotating magnetic field, rotor runs in the same direction as that of stator and it will try to reach the speed of rotating magnetic field. So this is how rotor rotates in the case of three-phase induction motor. The direction of rotor rotation is same as direction of rotating magnetic field, which can be answered by Lenz's law. Now, the slip, which is a term which is related to the motor, the rotor can never catch up with the stator flux. The speed of the rotor will be not same as that of, or rotor will not achieve the speed of the rotating magnetic field, that is a synchronous speed. If it does, there will be no relative speed between the stator flux and rotor conductor. If both rotating magnetic field and rotor is having the same speed, so there is no relative speed between them. No rotor conductor will be cut, so no EMF will be induced, no current will be induced, and no torque will be produced in the rotor. So rotor will not start to rotate, and that's why rotor will never reach the speed of the rotating magnetic field, that is a synchronous speed, which is denoted by ns. The rotor speed n is always less than the stator field ns, and the difference between the synchronous speed ns of stator rotating field and actual speed of the motor or rotor is called slip. So slip is always measured in terms of percentage. So percentage slip is given by ns minus n divided by ns into 100, where ns is a synchronous speed and n is the speed of the rotor. So whenever rotor is standstill, so speed of the rotor will be 0, so slip becomes 1. And whenever slip is 0, then ns is equal to n, which is not possible. Slip is also related to the torque. So this is all about the today's video lecture. In this video lecture, I have discussed about production of rotating magnetic field, how rotating magnetic field is produced whenever stator is energized by three-phase supply, and working principle of three-phase induction motor and terms related to that, that is a synchronous speed and slip. Hope you have enjoyed the video. See you soon in the next video of the electrical machine. Thank you for watching.